discuss the objectives and principles of environment education. What are the main concerns of formal, informal environment education? Second part is what we have added. Pehla part ho jayega, I believe. What are the objectives? The objectives are awareness. Objectives are attitude building. The objectives are increasing local participation. The objectives are collaboration for a sustainable land and water use activities, for information, awareness, for attitude building, for participation. With education, you can develop more sustainable solutions. So there was a Tbilisi declaration, okay, TBLISI, Tbilisi, Georgia, yes, capital of Georgia is Tbilisi, TBLISI, Tbilisi Declaration, 1977. So they talked about the objectives of environmental education and what are the principles of this education. You can list down all the principles of environmental management and just add the word to appreciate interconnectedness, to appreciate emergent properties, to appreciate the role of and importance of ecological niche. Just add that list of principles. What are the objectives and principles of environmental education? उसमें add कर देना होगा the principle of environment education का 2-3 और elements है, add करो. The other principles of education are: number one, that the environmental education should be locally relevant. It should be culturally sensitive. Local relevant, culturally sensitive. The education must respect inter-community rights. Next, the education must be continuous. What I mean by this is, you don't have education that conflicts one group with another group. When you padha diya, then tribes are against the, okay, maybe fishermen downstream. That's a bad education. That farmers are now against probably the rights of the non-farmers. So the education must be for sensitivity across the communities also. Now, value-based understandable hai. That's not the bigger thing. And culturally sensitive ka matlab hai, if a culture is more inspired by some forests, some species, encourage that. Something like a sacred grooves, okay? Encourage that. The Bishnois, they're sensitive about black bucks, right? So encourage that. There are some tribes which are against hunting, encourage that. So jo cultural elements hain, don't be dismissive. Ye idea kahan se aata hai pata hai? This idea comes from this approach of modernization, where we end up dismissing local tribal cultures. Ki bekar hai, ye sab to unpad log hain. What do they know about environmental issues? So the education must be locally relevant, as in local water conservation, important hai, talk about that then. Okay, it's important for local soil conservation, talk about that. So ye aapko add karna ho, principles. Now that I'm asking you, what are the main concerns of formal and informal environmental education? Formal ka kya concerns hai aur informal ka kya concerns? Informal, the concerns are sometimes the local population is ignored. In the formal education systems, the local population gets ignored. In formal systems, it can become very bureaucratic. In formal systems, it can become more theoretical. It is not practical. Formal systems can become very mechanical. They are not outcome-based. Ki course khatam karna hai. It can be ignoring local population concerns. It can become very bureaucratic, approval, lack of approval, syllabus, examinations. It can become theoretical, not practical, and it can be mechanical and not outcome based. Informal education system ye hai that important concepts and important concerns may get ignored because of important concepts and important concerns may get ignored because of local preferences. Informal ka matlab kya hai? Which is not a part of a proper curriculum. Okay, usme kya hai? Some important deeper concepts are ignored. Informal can also be very exclusionary because of maybe caste issues, because of social dynamics. Why? Because local customs aa jate hain na isme. The local customs aa gaya, local practices aa gaya, they can become exclusionary. Ye kuch groups ka hटा ही दिया आपने पढ़ाने के local के नाम. Informal ones, informals, though very effective, are not always scalable. You can't replicate that across cultures. Okay. And fourth is informal education is rarely driven by mission approach. जो कुछ चीजों का urgency है, वो urgency यहाँ नहीं दिखाई देगा. So in education, you need a mix of both formal and informal. Informal are very effective. Advantage बहुत effective होता है. It can involve people better, but then problems of customs and traditions can be impacted.